I took my little boy to the beach the other day, and we were standing at the water's edge. He's almost 2 years old, and on most days, he just stands there at the edge of the water. But on this particular day, he decided to venture a few feet into the water. He was bobbing around and having fun and laughing, but holding my hand tightly. Next thing you know, a big wave is making its way towards us. Not a huge wave, maybe 8 feet. But I'm over 6 feet tall, so an 8-foot wave doesn't seem that big to me. But for someone who's less than 2 feet tall, an 8-foot wave looks like Armageddon. I looked at little Harry's face, and he had this look. It went from curiosity to overwhelmed to afraid. I scooped him up into my arms and took a couple of steps back, and we were safely on the beach. Psychologists describe overwhelmed as a feeling of helplessness born from a situation when we feel overcome or powerless. Feeling overwhelmed can express itself in many different ways. It might express itself as an emotion, such as anxiety, anger, or irritability. Or it might express itself as a behavior, such as lashing out or crying or procrastination. We all get overwhelmed from time to time. What matters is not that we get overwhelmed or not that we got overwhelmed again. What matters is what we do next. I am fascinated with how different writers have different writing processes. Stephen King wakes up every morning, has breakfast, takes a walk, has a shower, and then sits down and writes 3,000 words. Some days, he's finished by 11 a.m. Other days, he's still sitting there at 11 p.m. But that's his writing process. I'm also fascinated with how different authors deal with writer's block. When Ernest Hemingway used to experience writer's block, he used to say to himself, "Ernest, just write the truest sentence you can write." His claim was that one true sentence would lead to the next and the next. Most of the time, we don't get overwhelmed by one thing. It's usually a combination of many things that overwhelm us. For example, a variety of personal and professional obligations that are all competing for our attention at the same time. When we get overwhelmed, one simple technique to help us breathe and restore our sanity is to stop multitasking and focus on one thing. Just as Hemingway would focus on writing that one true sentence, we need to focus too. When we get overwhelmed, most people tend to shut down. The next phase, for many, is one of procrastination. Procrastination actually increases the feeling of being overwhelmed because it doesn't reduce the pile of things that are before us. What should we focus on when we get overwhelmed? We should focus on the next right thing. Don't worry about what you have to do tomorrow or next week or next month. Focusing on the now is the key to overcoming the feeling of being overwhelmed. You see, we cannot think our way out of being overwhelmed. We have to act our way out of being overwhelmed. Once we start acting, the feeling of being overwhelmed gets replaced by the feeling that we are making progress. We all like to know that we are making progress. As a teacher, you know that better than most. When you get a student to a place where she knows she is making progress, her attitude changes, her body language changes, the way she pays attention to the things you're saying changes. Knowing that we are making progress changes everything. So a big part of getting beyond being overwhelmed is to just do the next right thing. Do what you can and should be doing right now, and do it well. Another big part of avoiding and overcoming that feeling of being overwhelmed is to make sure we're getting enough rest. There once lived a man whose name was Jude. He was an apostle of Jesus Christ and was renowned throughout the region as a wise and deeply spiritual man. People traveled great distances, venturing across foreign lands to seek his advice and healing. One day, Jude was relaxing outside his hut when a hunter came by. The hunter was surprised to see Jude relaxing and rebuffed him for loafing. It was not the hunter's idea of what a holy man should be doing. Jude recognized these thoughts running through the hunter's mind and also noticed that the man carried a bow for hunting. "What is your occupation, sir?" Jude asked the hunter. "I am a hunter," the man replied. "Very good," Jude said. "Bend your bow and shoot an arrow." The man did it. "Bend it again and shoot another arrow," Jude said. The hunter did so again and again. Finally he complained, "Father, if I keep my bow always stretched, it will break." "Very good, my child," Jude replied. "So it is with me and with all people. If we push ourselves beyond measure, we will break. It is good and right from time to time to relax and recreate ourselves. We are more susceptible to feeling overwhelmed when we are not rested. We are more susceptible to becoming overwhelmed when we don't have a good plan in place for the coming day or week, both personally and professionally. On a personal level, it helps to take regular inventory of the four main aspects of our lives: physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. We've spoken about how God is interested in the whole person in relation to your students, and God is interested in your whole person too, not just the spiritual aspect. Are you thriving or are you just surviving? Because God wants you to thrive. This is a tool I often use with business leaders in the corporate world to take a very quick inventory of their lives. Thinking for a moment about a stoplight. For our inventory, green means you're on track and moving along just great. Yellow means you're making progress, but not as much as you would like. And red means that that area of your life definitely needs work. Now let's think about each of the four aspects of the human person. Physical. Are you red, yellow, or green in this part of your life right now? Remember, green means you're on track and moving along just great. Yellow means you're making progress, but not as much as you would like. And red means that that area of your life definitely needs work. Are you getting enough sleep and exercise? Are you eating foods that energize you? Now think about the second aspect, the emotional realm. Are you red, yellow, or green in that part of your life right now? It may help to think about the most important relationships in your life. Next, consider the intellectual aspect. Are you red, yellow, or green in this part of your life? Are you renewing your commitment to continuous learning each day? Are you taking a few minutes to read great books on a regular basis? And finally, let's think about the spiritual aspect. Are you red, yellow, or green in that part of your life right now? We all need to take an inventory of our lives from time to time. An exercise as simple as this one helps us to identify areas that require our attention, and it only takes a few minutes. But if we're going to thrive in the ways God wants us to thrive, we need to take a regular inventory of our lives. Hi, I'm Matthew Kelly. Thank you for watching. Every day we're releasing new videos and videos from the archives of the last 30 years. So click the button below and subscribe so that you can get notifications and be aware of all the great content that can have a powerful impact on your life.